guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'll be covering an update to a very popular video I covered a couple weeks ago, which is titled, Why I Started Acting Like a Bossy Inist, Shocked When I Said Divorce and Left for the Bahamas. And as a recap, that's about the guy, the husband and father, who I believe is in his either late 40s or early 50s, been married for 20 some odd years, and got into a big fight with his freaking wife after she royally crossed the line with him. And it got so bad that he said, that's it, I'm out of here, I'm taking off for a couple weeks to the Bahamas. When I get back, have the divorce papers ready. And let me tell you, when she obviously saw he was serious, you saw a change in her attitude. And then you recall in the story, he really got into describing his marriage to her. And she is someone who, like in the title, is a very bossy, her way or the highway, masculine G.I. Joe type of gal. However, he claims that, and I now have proof of this from pictures he sent me, to obviously be very good looking physically. And this can happen. And that's been a lot of their marriage. And he's finally had enough. And again, he goes into the whole thing about her, and it was about because of her phone and Reddit accounts, and she wouldn't let him see certain things. And she was really laying on the tough girl act, if you will, boss babe act, if you will, and he was done with it. And where we left off, he obviously went off to the Bahamas, and he was commenting on one of my posts, and here he is with an update, and he's going to let us know what's been going on since, more information about her, responses to questions you had, and how things turned out when he got back. And again, guys, this really does hit home, and I really made the point about this is, for you relationship guys, that I'm certainly assuming or hoping you are in your masculine frame, if you will, you do not want to get involved with masculine women. Because even if they're physically good looking, and there's a lot of gals that are physically good looking, but they have this G.I. Joe, hard-headed attitude, they want to run the show, it's not worth it. It is going to be constant aggravation, constantly locking horns, two bulls in a pen, and life should be as peaceful as it can get, because life has enough drama as it is, let alone in your home. And if you get into a relationship with a masculine gal, even though she may have other redeemable qualities, it's going to make you crazy. And it's just a warning. So his update's long, but it's definitely worth your time. So he says, so SSM. I wasn't going to give an update, but since you hit me up on YouTube, I thought I'd read some of the comments posted under my previous story and give you guys a little bit update here. First, before I do, let me give my deepest condolences to the oil rig worker who was married 45 years and whose wife started pulling that nonsense on him. That's about a popular story about the oil rig guy. And many of you guys are watching that, you'll know what I'm talking about. That was a rough one to listen to. Stay strong, brother. I'm praying for you. 45 years is a long time to put into a relationship just for it to fall apart at the end. Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I'm sure he does too. And our guy, the oil rig guy, the 64-year-old grandfather, he's going scorched earth. He says, guys, I'm going to break this down into several sections because I want to let your listeners know what happened after I left for my trip. I'd also like to answer some of SSM's statements and questions and some of the comments that were left underneath the post. Well, this video got a lot of comments. First, let me address my trip to the Bahamas. One of the commenters posted something to the effect of that it was weird or sinful to go on a trip without your wife. Oh, for goodness sake. My response to that is completely understood where you're coming from, and for the most part, I agree with you 100%. This trip was a last-minute thing that my sister had planned a year ago. She had a boyfriend who was supposed to go with her to a foreign country, and at the last minute, things fell apart. My baby sister had planned this trip a year ago and really wanted to go. Also, this trip was to trace our ancestry back because I'm black. I'm a black male, and our ancestors were originally shipped to the Bahamas. We actually found documentation of this while we were down there. My sister is currently writing a book on the subject and our family ancestry. She has also written and published 2 previous books. Wow, that's cool. Typically, I would not go on a trip without my wife because I believe that's wrong. My sister literally called me 12 days before the trip and asked if I could please go with her because she didn't feel comfortable traveling to a foreign country alone. I told my wife about the situation, and she 100% agreed that I go with my sister. For the record, I personally felt bad about the situation and didn't really want to go without my wife, but at the same time, I wanted to support my sister who had planned this trip for so long. Okay, no big deal there. You're with your sister helping her out. And then it just so happened that your wife was pulling that crap at the last minute, and you're like, I'm out of here. I don't feel bad anymore. My wife thought it was a good opportunity for me to spend time with my sis and learn more about the family ancestry. Also, my wife is 5'1", 128 white female for the record. He says it was an amazing trip. We spent 12 days in the Bahamas and got a chance to know the Bahamas people and their culture. Well, dude, I was there too. That was the funny part, how interesting that was. I had a blast. If you ever get a chance to go to the Bahamas, I would highly recommend booking an Airbnb, getting away from the resorts, and really learning about the people, the neighborhoods, and the beaches. I think more people are more interested in being on the beach and drinking than learning about the people and the culture and the neighborhoods, but okay, no problem. If you enjoyed it, good. Now first, I want to say that I think there may have been some confusion in the original video. Yes, my wife did fall in line. In the previous video, I believe I made a statement that my wife said. That I understand where you're coming from, I just don't like being told what to do. Yeah, you said that's what she said. Oh, and by the way, we didn't really know at the end of the video whether he was actually divorcing her or not. I was puzzled by that, so were the guys. I also believe I made the statement. That's as close to an apology as you're going to get. I have cameras inside and outside of my home, and while I was gone on vacation with my sister, I checked in my home as one naturally does when they're out of town. On the third day I was gone, I noticed my wife was outside working in the front yard, pulling up bushes and hedges that we had spoken about removing earlier. Before I left for the trip, I'd removed the hedges in the backyard, and my plan was to remove the ones in the front yard when I returned. Well, it's good to see she's doing some work. She's definitely getting in your good graces, if you will. During that time, I spoke to her through the outside cameras while watching her wrap chains around the roots of the bushes, tied them to the back of the truck, and yanked them out of the ground, as one's typical wife does. No, that's not something a typical wife does. He made it clear that his wife does a lot, is very handy, can do a lot of things, and that's cool and all, but usually a gal that can be very handy with tools and equipment and projects, again, tend to be on the masculine side, and that can be a headache. I arrived home on Saturday night at 11:15, and my wife was waiting for me upstairs in lingerie with a rolled-up joint ready to go. Aha, somebody wants to have some makeup loving. Right there you get home, and she's definitely... Obviously, you got in her head with the whole have the divorce papers ready. While I was taking a shower, she happily and gleefully told me about all the things she accomplished while I was gone. She said she wanted to surprise me so I wouldn't have to do these things later. She did the following. Sanded and painted the guest bathroom walls, installed a new fixture in the guest bathroom, removed the hedges in the front yard, moved a 200-pound stone we've been moving from house to house for the past 17 years from one side of the yard to the other, put down rocks in the front yard and removing the hedges, put mulch in the backyard where I had removed the rose bushes and hedges before leaving, replaced trim in our bathroom, cleaned the basement, fixed a piece of siding on the house, backed up family photos onto the hard drive, got her concealed weapons permit, went dress shopping with our daughters, and picked out a nice dress and did my laundry. Okay, well, clearly that was some pussy control. She's getting into your good graces, my man. After what happened, like, uh-oh, this guy may be serious, might divorce me. That's my interpretation here. I've told you guys a million times the power of walking away, and you gotta mean it. And also, a woman has to know you mean business. So if she crosses the line with you, she's gotta know that, or at the very least, that you're not messing around. And clearly her response here to all the projects she got done while you were gone, and you coming home with her half naked in the lingerie ready to go, that says a lot. Now for the record, I know some of you are thinking, why is this woman like this? My wife is this way because she grew up in a very messed up environment. Aha. Well, that can be not always good. By the time she was 8, she was practically raising herself and her brother. When she was 15, teachers were letting her sign her own paperwork because she was living alone and taking care of herself. When you grow up like that, I think you develop the mindset that you want to be completely independent, which is understandable given that kind of childhood. So she couldn't rely on her parents, and that's terrible. Her parents are obviously bunch of fucking idiots. And so she's used to running the show. That's nice she's self-sufficient, but that's the problem when you're with one of these gals. They want to run the show, and you're constantly locking horns. Whether she was with me or a multimillionaire, she would still learn to do these things for herself because that's just her personality, and she can't help it. My wife's favorite motto is, better well done than well said. When I first met her, she didn't know how to do much of these things, but over the years, while I worked around the house, she would help out and pay attention to me. And honestly, I found it impressive that my wife actually wanted to help and that we were improving our property and lives together. A lot of women don't do stuff like that. No, they don't. And that says a lot about her wanting to help. And really, it helped you out. But the problem is what accompanies that usually isn't good. My wife will literally come outside and tell me she feels like she hasn't helped me enough in the yard, and then she'll start doing yard work. Also, I'm glad my wife can take care of herself. My grandfather passed away 10 years ago, and little things about my grandmother's house had started falling apart. Nobody really lives close enough to help her directly. But my grandmother doesn't have the skills to handle those small repairs because she's not used to working with tools or thinking that way. I'm not talking about bad about my grandma at all. My grandparents got married in '54, and things were just different back then. Women generally didn't work with tools or do those types of things. In your previous video, you stated that a man's home should be his man cave. I agree with you 100%, but I will say the following. Over the years of raising 5 kids when they were little, it was nice to have an area that was truly just for me. I read some comments from people making ridiculous statements like the following, that my whole house is a man cave, and it's ridiculous to say a room pushed off in the corner is your man cave. First, let me get a couple of things straight. Number one, man cave is just a figure of speech, so don't get hung up on the wording itself. Second, any man who has ever raised kids understands that just because your home is technically yours and you pay the mortgage doesn't mean you get to act like a dictator and treat your family poorly. I want my kids to live comfortably in our home. Any real man knows that when you raise kids, they touch stuff, move stuff, knock stuff over, break things, and sometimes hurt themselves. That's just what kids do, or little kids do. So when I say a man cave or space that's just for me, that doesn't mean I have no control over the rest of the house. That's a ridiculous assumption. I get what you're saying here. And the problem is a lot of guys, they will have their little section of the house, the man cave, if you will, which is typically either the garage or the basement. And they furnish the basement and the garages where they have their tools and motorcycle or whatever. And the problem is in the rest of the house, the wife dictates everything. What furniture you have, what decorations are on the walls, everything. And the guy's so pee-whipped, he doesn't say anything, even though it's his fucking house. And I have a problem with it. So the whole house is your house too, and you got to have a say in your house. But I understand the point where the section of the house could be like, if you're fortunate enough to have a spare bedroom after the kids have their rooms for an office, or the basement, that is your area. Stay the fuck out, kids. But still, that house has got to be your house. And I know what you mean. You want to keep something separate for yourself, but a lot of guys, when they say the man cave, is because the rest of the house, because they're so pee-whipped from their wives, they won't have any say about anything else. You know, that's not good. He goes on to say, for example, in my man cave, I have my PlayStation 5, 2 monitors mounted to the wall, another monitor mounted on my workbench, a recliner, a sofa, a workout bench, a carpenter's bench, multiple toolboxes, 2 gun safes. Yes, a man's home is his domain, but I think it's ridiculous to believe that while raising 5 small kids, I could have placed all those items randomly throughout the house and simply expected my kids not to touch, break, or damage them or hurt themselves. That's why I have the man cave, a separate space from the rest of the house. Okay, bro, no worries, I understand, as long as you're having say in the rest of your house. And for the record, my wife has her own woman cave as well. She has 3 monitors, a pink and white daybed, books, candles, workout equipment, and all the things that make her happy. Well, most people's homes, the whole house is the woman cave. Obviously not in your situation, but I think you get what I mean. Next, I'd like to address the people saying I didn't check her Reddit account thoroughly, and that by allowing her not to show me her phone that evening, she had time to erase things. Well, that's possible, man. I was thinking that too. I think there may be some confusion. Number one, I did go to my wife's phone, and I have the ability to check whenever I want. It has never been an issue, or at least my wife has never pulled that nonsense that she pulled right before I left for the trip. Saying I could not look for something because I needed her permission was the first time in 17 years that ever happened. Well, that's why so many guys, including myself, said, wait a second here. Where is this coming from? And usually when they get so bent out of shape about something on their phone, there's usually they're hiding something. That's what the guys were thinking. That's what I was thinking. You know, that's great if there was no suspicious behavior, bad behavior 17 years, but okay, but what about right now? That's why I had to correct her behavior and way of thinking, because something like that had never occurred before. Well, I'm glad you jumped right on it. And remember what happened when you jumped on it. She got the attitude. Secondly, I do check her phone, but not often, because constantly doing that is insecure and obsessive behavior. I just happen to look at the Reddit account randomly. Also, let me clarify something else. A few days before my trip, when I looked at her Reddit account, some people said she must have something to hide or that she's cheating because she wouldn't let me look at the particular account. Normally, I agree with you, but that is not the situation here. The other Reddit accounts she has, I'm familiar with, and I know what is on them. The reason I clicked on the third account was because I didn't recognize it. When I opened it, there was literally nothing in it besides one post and some comments. There was nothing else there. The account was exactly what my wife said it was, her asking strangers on Reddit about a small disagreement we were having, and I clearly saw everything before she realized I was looking at it and snatched the phone away. Someone asked in the comments why my wife really divorced her first husband. There were several reasons, but one of them was that he became a drunk and drug addict, and she couldn't tolerate that. Well, that's certainly a good reason to divorce a guy. Question is, did that just magically happen when they got together, or did he have other signs, negative qualities beforehand? Hence, going for the bad boy type, which shows judgment issues. But putting that aside, about 6 years ago, my wife made the following statement to me while we were downstairs in my so-called man cave watching a movie. She said to me, "I'm a strong woman. I do not need a man for anything. Strong women do not date weak men. The thing I like about being married to you is the fact that you let me be a strong woman and independent. More importantly, you are not threatened by my success or my abilities." A lot of men say they want strong women, but when they actually deal with one, they become threatened. This is her saying this. That was the problem that I faced in my first marriage and my previous relationships. Men always said I was too much. You're not threatened by me. You let me be myself. In previous relationships, I could do whatever I wanted, say whatever I wanted, and nobody would tell me anything. But with you don't allow that. You place limits on me while I'm with you, and I can bark as loud as I want, like a big bad dog, but you look at me like I'm a little chihuahua and say, we're not doing any of that. Now this goes back to what I was saying earlier about checking my wife before I went on vacation. So he mentioned that whole thing about that statement she made one time, and that he obviously puts her in her place, but still, before in previous relationships, she was Iron Woman, hear me roar, I do what I want, say what I want, and no man's going to check me. That's a pain in the ass to deal with. And you obviously check her, and she obviously respects your strength, but again, there's going to be a constant battle over that. And again, guys, he attached a lot of pictures to this email he sent me, and no, I can't show you. It's confidential. One picture of her in a bikini. She's good looking. For her age and having kids, she's in good shape. I'm impressed. But this is how they could look feminine on the outside, but on the inside, they could be Mr. T. And I don't want to be in a relationship, Mr. T. And I'm sure most of you don't want to be in a relationship, Mr. T. In her previous relationships, she would have told her husband or boyfriend that they couldn't look at her phone and they need her permission. And that would have been the end of the conversation. That is why my wife and I work well together. I don't allow her to get away with it. See, you don't put up with her shit. And you check her on her bullshit. And that's good. And women don't respect weak guys. But that still doesn't mean that they're not going to get a bug up their ass on occasion and test you like what she was doing before. And I'm glad you responded in kind. But still is very suspicious after 17 years, none of that shit, and all of a sudden she's guarding her phone like a Gollum in the fucking Ring, you know? Let me also make something clear. This is the only reason I did not press harder to see her phone. If I felt there was something hidden or the account looked extensive with pages and pages of comments and suspicious activity, then I absolutely would have pressed the issue and the conversation would not have ended until I saw her phone. Somebody made the comment that I wouldn't really divorce her over the situation, or any situation for that matter. I find that laughable because this is literally the reason my wife backed down, because she knows I would do it. See? That's why after you gave her that shit and she backed down, all of a sudden she's coming outside and all that like she did before. She knows you aren't messing around. They have to know, guys, that they push you too far. That's it. And you were obviously darn close to being that it. Hence, when you were away, she was doing all those freaking chores. She accomplished a heck of a lot while you were away, and you get home, and there she's up the stairs, half naked in her lingerie, waiting for you. Yeah, she's getting back in your good graces. Now, let me say this clearly. I agree 100% that threatening divorce is not something to throw around lightly. And it's not the healthiest way to solve problems, because solving issues through threats usually backfires in the long run. I agree with doing that. Doing that all the time is a bad idea. But when the moment is right, Hence what you were getting there. That's different. My wife is very strong-willed, no shit, but so am I, and that's part of the challenge. Normally, I would never threaten my wife with divorce, but I'm going to be completely honest about the way I think. Like I said in the previous videos, Saturday night came and went, and I waited until Monday before I had this conversation with my wife, because I like to think before I act. Good, you should think before you act. The reason I told her I would divorce her is simple. There are some things I'm willing to compromise on in my marriage. My wife hiding her phone, or believing she has the right to keep things from me, or that I need permission to look at something inside my own home is not one of them. That is why I immediately went to the topic of divorce. That is not something I believe a husband should compromise on. There is no wiggle room. People in the comments can say what they want, but I went there because I don't play around with issues like that. Like one commenter said, it's death by 1,000 cuts. Yeah, a lot of guys get worn down by the death of 1,000 cuts. That's most marriages. And one of those cuts is they give up the whole house to her to say and dictate what goes on in there, and he gets his little man cave in the garage. No. If you allow your woman to start believing she has the right to keep things from you, though you're not allowed to look at certain things without her permission, then eventually she'll be coming home at 3 o'clock in the morning telling you it's none of your business where she's been. Absolutely. That's why you have to establish boundaries, make them clear as day, and enforce those boundaries. Because once you start caving to things, guys, that's when more bullshit starts happening, and you guys know this. SSM, you're correct that dealing with a strong-willed and opinionated woman can be difficult at times. At times, dude. But I strongly believe the positive outweighs the negatives, at least for me. I have dated very soft, ultra-feminine women before, and honestly, it was a complete turn-off for me. I do like strong women. I don't like women I can simply walk all over. I don't like women who cry easily or women who are incapable, unintelligent, or dependent on everyone else. Well, man, I agree. I don't like that either. But I don't like bossy, my way or the highway, mannish, Mr. T, G.I. Joe women either. And if I had to choose between a ultra-feminine, yet dependent, incapable type of gal versus Mr. T in a hot body, I'll take the ultra-feminine, dependent type. But here's the thing. Number one, you don't have to choose either. How about that? You had enough, you're a bachelor like the most of us, or you find one in the middle. But I'm telling you, the more masculine they are, it is a constant battle, guys. For you younger guys, I don't have a lot of experience in relations. I've had girlfriends in my past that were more on the masculine side. They look good, and they could be fun in a lot of ways, but there was locking horns, and it got old, and I got tired of it. Never again. Now to address the money issue somebody posted about. Yes, you're absolutely correct that many relationships, if the woman makes more money than the man, it can become a disaster waiting to happen. I have countless videos on that subject, yes. Whoever commented that, I don't disagree with you at all. However, I can honestly say that money has never been a major issue in our marriage. Well, that's good, man, because that's usually the biggest issue in marriages. When my wife and I first got together, she made me promise that we would never argue about money. She said that when she was a little girl, she used to hear adults fighting about finances, and she promised herself that she would never do that with her husband. Well, that's good to hear. There shouldn't be fighting about finances. There should be adult discussions and conversations about finances. But that's very easy to say. I don't want to ever fight about money. But if the wife is doing stupid things with money, then there's a reason to at least have an issue about it. So that's great if she wants to communicate like adults about it. But if she's doing dumb shit with money, which I'm guessing she's not, you have the right to fight about it. And when I say fight, I mean escalate. I can honestly say we've never had any major issues involving money or finances beyond ordinary bills and day-to-day expenses. Well, that's good, dude. And because I'm sure somebody's curious, my wife and I do have separate bank accounts. But we both have access and cards to all these accounts. I can spend money from her account just as freely as she can spend money from mine. It has never been an issue. Smack! Well, dude, what's the point of having two separate bank accounts if you can spend money from her account and she can spend money from your account? I don't see the point of having separate accounts then. My experience in life, what seems to make the best type of scenario, guys, is that you have your account, she has her account, and a joint account, which you both have cards and access to, which is for the bills and all that. Again, also her own brokerage account and 401k, and your own brokerage account and 401k. But again, okay, I'm just telling you right now, if the shit hits the fan, if she has access to your account, that ain't a good thing. Now to address the cheating issue. Some of you guys have said my wife is cheating on me. Well, given her behavior, that sounds very familiar to scenarios where, you know, she can be perfect all those years, but all of a sudden she's acting up and challenging and there's suspicious stuff. Makes a lot of guys think that there could be something going on. And usually there is. I hope not. Let me say honestly that no man can truly say with absolute certainty that his wife is faithful forever. After hearing about the oil rig worker after 45 years, honestly, no man can guarantee anything. I agree with you. You can't watch her 24 hours a day, and you're not her warden. But I will say this. In almost 20 years of marriage, my wife has never lied to me about anything that I know of. Dude, how are you going to describe a lie? Little lies or little white lies? I guarantee you there's been fibs along the way. Guaranteed. And if we're being honest here, I'm sure there's been little fibs you've told her. But as far as you know, she hasn't lied, but still. She's always where she says she's going to be. She rarely leaves the house without me, not because she can't, but because she generally doesn't care to. My wife does not go on girls' trips or girls' nights out. She wouldn't even ask me that, nor does she care to. It's simply not her personality. Well, that's a good thing. I check credit card statements, bank accounts, and occasionally skim over the phone bill. There's never been any suspicious behavior. Of course, that doesn't mean she couldn't use apps or have a burner phone, but until you actually see the evidence, accusing someone without proof becomes paranoia. Well, it's good to hear that all those things about her, and you haven't seen any evidence of that, but as you're well aware, if you watch many of my videos, they are pretty darn slick. Yeah, additional phones, apps buried away on their phone that is very hard to locate to communicate with dudes. They're slick. And you always have to be watching. I'm going to be completely honest with you, SSM. Over the years, I have placed hidden cameras in my house and even marked my wife's tires just to see if she's leaving the house or going places without me. I come home randomly from work without calling ahead, and honestly, not one single time have I caught her doing anything suspicious. Well, that's really good to hear, man. And I hope that's truly nothing suspicious or anything bad has been going on behind the scenes. And obviously, you're a straight-laced guy, and there hasn't been any bullshit with you behind the scenes. But what I want to stress, and a lot of the guys on here will stress, is just because somebody's a perfect angel for 20 years doesn't mean after 20 years, all of a sudden, something can change. Because they're suddenly feeling like their needs aren't being met. Or you're a big, giant, controlling jerk. Or Lord knows what. So you always have to be paying attention. She is exactly where she says she will be at all times. I did those things because, honestly, my wife's behavior almost seems too good to be true. So when people say it sounds too good to be true, I actually agree with them. That's exactly why I checked. Well, what's the saying? Trust but verify, but better yet verify and then trust. I've been around with this woman for almost 20 years, and she has never done anything that makes me seriously question her fidelity. That honestly feels unusual to me as a husband, and I'll admit it. But I've done everything I can think of to verify things: credit cards, bank statements, phone records, cameras, random visits home, and I found absolutely nothing. Yeah, all guys should come home from work early to their wives on occasion. Or if they're coming back from a business trip or something like that, and they say they're going to be back on Thursday at 9 p.m., come back on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Every once in a while. Someone made a comment that my wife seeks attention and validation. I find that laughable because she really doesn't. Yes, all women like attention and validation to some degree, and I agree with that statement. But my wife does not seek it from other men. She doesn't dress provocatively. She doesn't post revealing pictures online. Her social media is mostly Facebook posts about the kids, family activities, and everyday life. Well, that's good to see. Again, guy said that because of the way she was guarding her phone about the Reddit post and her Reddit account, the secret Reddit account that you didn't know about. That's what people thought. It's understandable. That's what I was thinking too. Also, I don't know if this matters, but I've known my wife since high school. She wanted to date me back then, but I didn't because I already had 2 girlfriends at different schools and couldn't fit another relationship into my life. 2 different girlfriends, different schools, you playa. My life was sports, work, and everything else going on. Years later, when we finally reconnected, she was the one who pursued me. And when I say pursued, I mean she would drive hours to see me on weekends. I never drove to see her, not once. When it came time to get married, that was also her idea. She pushed for it and wanted it badly. Okay, that's a good position to be in. She's chasing you, not the other way around. But I have to say, let's all recall, she was a single MOM with 3 young kids, if I'm not mistaken, or either 2 or 3. I forget which one he had, 2 or 3. But anyhow, that's good she was chasing you. But remember, and I'm sure younger you as a stand-up guy make a good husband and father, but, you know, I have to point it out. I'm not even going to lie to you guys, hand to God. I literally flipped a quarter to decide whether or not I was going to marry her. Well, I would have done more than leaving the fate of a flipping of a quarter for that. I figured she was a great woman, an excellent mom, and the kind of woman you could build a good life with. Anyway, guys, I had to go to install an access panel and then shut the deck, everybody out there to be safe. And always remember, no matter how long you've been with a woman, you can't trust these hoes. Well, you just said you can't trust these hoes, and yet you're... But okay. Anyhow, there you go. There you guy goes. That is the update to the story. Obviously, he hasn't divorced her. That was the big thing we were all wondering here. But he made it clear, I'm not fucking around. Now, let's just see how things go. Now, obviously, you're not going anywhere now. But I'm telling you, if the behavior that she was showing you prior to your trip to the Bahamas continues, it becomes more common, you got to pay attention to the big picture. Because life is just too short for that crap, you know? And I'm glad you stood your ground and didn't take any crap. And it's pretty darn funny. Once she could tell you were serious, just how quickly, you know, G.I. Joe wife caved, submitted. Look at all the stuff she accomplished while you were gone. And again, you come home and she's half naked in the lingerie trying to seduce you. And be aware of that, you know. But anyhow, I wish you luck. I want you to have happiness, my man, with her, your family, and all that. But again, if this continues and there's a problem, be aware. You're a guy with options. Life is too short. And to all you guys out there, you relationship guys, I urge you not to get involved with them. Unless you're turned on by masculine gals and want them to run the show. Some guys are like that. I would recommend not getting a relationship with them. Because again, it's easy to tell a mannish girl physically by her looks. But there are plenty of them out there that physically look feminine. But then you get around them and all of a sudden they're jockeying to run the show. And they don't want to have a challenge. And it's constant locking of horns. It's just not worth it. But it's your life. And I'm just sharing my experience in the subject. And it's not fun and not worth it. But that's me. But anyhow, bro, good to hear from you. I wish you the best. And keep us posted on things. And if things change, we're here for you. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.